According to probably the best Pokemon Nuzlocker in the world Pokemon challenges, Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are the hardest main series games to hardcore Nuzlocke in the Pokemon franchise.
I think these are probably the hardest games in the Nuzlocke, in the series to Nuzlocke. These games have some insane shit going. Super difficult.
I wanted to find out whether I, a Pokemon player who's completed a handful of hardcore Nuzlockes in the past, could hardcore Nuzlocke the hardest Pokemon game the main series has to offer. Here are the rules. If a Pokemon faints, it dies. I can only catch one Pokemon per area. No items in battle. I must set the battle style to set style. No overleveling beyond the next gym leader. I must activate the Dupes clause and I must nickname all my Pokemon. Can I defeat this difficult challenge? Let's find out. We wake up and skip straight to the starter selection because this is a Nuzlocke, a run void of any emotion, so we don't care about the story at all. We choose Popplio as our starter because it is known as Alola's best starter. We had our first trainer battle with Hao. He chose a Litten because he chooses the starter weak to us. After 2 water guns, we take down the Litten with no problem. We then get saved by Tapu Koko because we tried to save Cosmog, or Nebby as Lily calls it, from falling down the bridge. We have our second rival battle with Hao again. He leads with a Pichu this time. We go for a couple of disarming voices taking down the Pichu. He sends out Litten next, and after a couple of water guns, it goes down. Our first Pokemon was at the trainer school at Route 1. We caught an Alolan Grimer and added it to the team. On to the trainer school teacher battle. I poison stalled her Rowlet, taking it down, my Popplio living on 4 HP. At Hau'oli City, we had our first encounter with Team Skull. I led with my Alolan Grimer, and after a couple of bites, his Zubat went down. After facing the Team Skull Grunt, we are challenged by Elima. We poison her Smeargle, and after a couple of poison stalling plus a bite damage, we finally take down the Smeargle. We caught an Ekans and a Zubat. We also beat Team Skull at Hau'oli Beach and stopped them from stealing a Mantine. We then commence our first trial. While doing our trial task, we get confronted by Team Skull once again. Using my Alolan Grimer, we quickly dispatch of them and make our way to the Totem Pokemon. We finally initiate the Totem Alolan Raticate fight. After doing a lot of switching in this fight, we finally switch into my Ekans to get an Intimidate off, lowering both their attacks. It goes for a singular bite, but I go for a couple of poison stings, taking down the spare Alolan Rattata that it has. I then quickly switch into my Alolan Grimer to get off a poison gas and go for a couple of acid sprays, finally taking down the Alolan Raticate. With a job well done, we quickly get the Normalium Z and head on out. I caught a Noibat in the cave. Kukui teaches us how to use the Normalium Z, but here's an additional rules. I will not be allowing myself to use Z moves at any point of the run. I went to Melee Meadow where I got Petalil as my encounter. I got Cosmog saved from the cave and returned it to Lily as Hao challenged us to another battle. Hao leads with his starter Litten while I lead with my Alolan Grimer. I go for an acid spray, getting the special defense drop. It goes for a lick, landing a critical hit, but another acid spray lands the special defense drop again. The third acid spray takes down the Litten as Noibat comes out. I continue spamming acid spray as it lowers its special defense again. I dodge an attack and go for another acid spray, finally taking down the Noibat. His last Pokemon is a Pikachu, and I go for a bite. I got the poison from the poison touch ability and Pikachu goes down. We meet up with Professor Kukui and we go to Iki Town to take on the Grand Trial against Hala. We initiate the Hala fight as he leads with his Machop while I lead with my Zubat. I quickly spam a couple of wing attacks, getting it down to red health. He super potions back up to full as I go for another wing attack. He gets us with 2 revenges, taking down our Zubat. We switch into Popplio to finish off the Machop as his next Pokemon Makupita comes out. He fakes us out, but I go for a couple of disarming voices, getting it down to yellow. I go for a third disarming voice, getting it down to red. And my final disarming voice finally takes down the Makuhita. His last Pokemon is a Crabrawler as I switch into my Ekans, lowering its attack. It go for its Z move, all out pummeling, and thankfully it only did just less than half. I go for a wrap, doing residual damage every turn. I then go for a couple attacks, but unfortunately Ekans had to go down. We switch back into Popplio, go for a couple of disarming voices, and finally the Crabrawler goes down. After the battle, our Popplio evolves into a Brionne, and with that we finish the grand trial of Melee Island. We get the right pager for Tauros and quickly make our way to the beach where we meet up with Samson Oak. We then do the maritime surfing to get to Akala Island. We arrive at Akala Island where we meet up with Professor Kukui, Lily, Hao, Mallow, and Olivia. We have a battle with Cena as she leads with her Smoochum while I lead with my Alolan Grimer. I deal with it with a couple of bites as she sends out Glaceon next. After a bit of poison stalling, the Glaceon goes down, which means we won the battle. Our next encounter was a Lillipup, which I caught. Next up, as you know, is a rival battle with Hao. Hao leads with his Torracat while I lead with my Alolan Grimer. I switch into my Brionne as he goes for its Z-move Breakneck Blitz. It does less than half HP as I go for some water guns taking down the Torracat. He switches into his Pikachu while I switch back into my Alolan Grimer. I do some Poison Fang plus Poison Touch damage to take it down. Up next is the Noibat, which also goes down to a singular bite. Up next is the Eevee. As I poison it with my Alolan Grimer, I switch back into my Brionne and go for an Aqua Jet, taking the easy KO and winning the battle. After the battle, I catch a Mudbray as my Paniyola Ranch encounter. I evolve my Lillipup into a Herdier. I beat Gladion in a battle and it was finally time for the water trial. We come face to face with the Totem Araquanid, and quite frankly, I didn't have a Pokemon to deal with it. My main strategy was the Poison Stall with my Alolan Grimer. I get the poison via Poison Fang as the Araquanid calls for a Dewpider. I then switch into my Brionne to tank the bubble from both the Araquanid and the Dewpider. I then switch into my Mudbray to deal with a Leech Life from the Mudbray. I get 2 stamina boosts as I switch back into my Brionne to tank more bubbles as it will click bubble against the Mudbray. I then switch into my Herdier to get the Intimidate off as it goes for Leech Life. I then go for a single takedown, taking down the Araquanid. Another takedown takes down the Dewpider, and with that, that's the totem fight done. We get congratulated by Lana as we get given the Water EMZ to signify our second trial win of the game. We have to have a quick battle with the Ultra Recon Squad Soliera. She leads with a Poipole while I lead with my Brionne. I go for an Icy Wind, lowering its speed as I switch into my Mudbray. I go for a couple of Bulldozers, and even after it heals up, I finish it off with a final Bulldoze. We meet up with Hapu and her Mudsdale as she's being troubled by Team Skull. I challenge one of the grunts, my Brionne leading while he leads with his Drowsy. After a couple of water guns, the Drowsy falls as we defeat the Team Skull grunt and they flee. We are thanked by Hapu as she quickly rides away with her Mudsdale. I then have to do the Pokemon Battle Royale with the Masked Royale, Hao and Gladion. We all initiate the battle as I lead with my Brionne, Gladion leads with type Null, Masked Royale leads with the Rockruff, and Hao leads with his Torracat. I attack the Rockruff first but then miss. Torracat goes for a Z-move against type Null as we all target the Rockruff first. I go attack the Torracat, taking it down, and with that the battle royale is over. We quickly leave the facility, catching a Wishiwashi and a Fletchling as our encounters before taking on the fire trial. We come face to face with the Totem Marowak. I lead with my Mudbray and go for a Bulldoze, but it protects itself using Detect and calls for an ally Salazzle. I'm able to dodge an attack from the Salazzle, lift the Flame Wheel from the Totem Marowak, and take down the ally Salazzle with a Bulldoze while also doing some decent damage to the Marowak. I then switch into my Herdier to get the Intimidate on the Totem Marowak. Quickly switch into my Alolan Grimer to go for the bite. I do not get the poison, but I switch into my Brionne. After a couple of water guns, the Totem Marowak finally goes down. We get congratulated by Kiawe and get given the Fire EMZ to signify our win in the fire trial. Before taking on the grass trial, we caught a Trumbeak from the previous route. We initiate the trial with Mallow, and after doing the trial quest, we encountered the Totem Lurantis. The Lurantis goes for X-Scissor, we tank it and fire back with a Pluck. We go for another Pluck as it calls on its ally Pokemon Kecleon. Kecleon sets on Sunny Days, so this thing has access to 1-turn Solar Blades. Its Synthesis backs up as I go for the Confuse Ray. I get Screech, lowering my defense harshly. I go for another Pluck on the Lurantis as it hits itself in Confusion. Unfortunately, Trumbeak has to fall as I have to bring out my Alolan Grimer. I go for a Poison Fang on the Lurantis not before it heals up back to full using Synthesis. The Kecleon then hits me with a Dizzy Punch. I click Poison Fang again as I get X-Scissored and Screeched by Lurantis and Kecleon respectively. The sun fades away as I switch into my Herdier to get the Intimidate off. Lurantis still gets a 1-turn Solar Blade thanks to its held item, the Power Up. I then hit a takedown on the Lurantis, bringing it back down to red HP. The Kecleon sets Sun back up as I let my Herdier go down. I switch into my Brionne, miraculously leave a Solar Blade on red HP as I fire back with an Icy Wind, taking down the Lurantis. The Kecleon gains an Ice type as it goes for a Dizzy Punch, and I live on 5 HP before I switch into my Mudbray, hit the Kecleon with a double kick and a bulldoze respectively as the Kecleon finally goes down, and with that we have the Grass Trial defeated. We get Gracium Z to signify our Grass Trial win. We meet up with Kukui and we also get a Steenie as our last jungle encounter. We meet Lily and Cosmog outside of Professor Burnett's lab. Upon entering the lab, we meet up with Professor Kukui, Professor Burnett, Lily, and Hao. We exit the lab and find an ultra wormhole slowly peeking from the sky, but it closes immediately. We make our way inside Diglett's tunnel where we are confronted by Team Skull. Hao helps us as we take them on in a double battle. They have a Salandit and an Ekans while we have a Mudbray and an Eevee. I go for a Bulldoze, taking down both of their Pokemon, and with that the battle is concluded. I got an Alolan Diglett as my encounter, and as I was about to leave the tunnel, you would not believe what I found. I found a full art shiny Alolan Diglett. Damn. We exit the tunnel where we meet Looker. We then go to Coney City and then get a Love Disc as our Route 7 encounter. We get a Ghastly for our Cemetery encounter as well. We encounter Faba as he is being confronted by 2 Team Skull Grunts. We decide to take one of them on as he leads with his Alolan Raticate. After a couple of double kicks, the Alolan Raticate goes down and we save Faba from the Team Skull Grunts. I get a Stuffle as my Akala Outskirts encounter, and with that we head on to fight Plumeria. She leads with Golbat while I lead with my Brionne. She attacked me with Wing Attack while I fire back with Icy Wind, doing a third of its health. She then confuses me as I hit myself in confusion. I then go for an Icy Wind through the confusion, and again through the confusion I go for an Aqua Jet, taking down the Golbat. A bit of a risky play, but nevertheless it worked out. I carelessly don't switch as I Water Gun the Salandit. I live on 2 HP before the Salandit goes down. Very risky play, but nevertheless, while I was getting my team to the level cap, my Stuffle evolved into a Beware. It was finally time to take on Olivia for the Grand Trial. She leads with her Inner Rift while I lead with my Beware. 2 Brick Breaks take down the Inner Rift as she switches into her Lileep. I go for 2 more Brick Breaks, taking down the Lileep as well. As Beware is weakened, I decide to switch into Steenie for the Lycanroc. I let Lycanroc take down my Steenie to sacrifice it so I can get a clean switch into my Mudbray. I get flinched by a bite and I land 1 high horsepower before deciding to switch. I switch into my Brionne as she super potions back up. I go for a Bubble Beam, just about leaving it on red HP. As I go for Aqua Jet to take down the Lycanroc to defeat Olivia, I get my Rocky MZ to signify my Grand Trial win. We evolved Mudbray into a Mudsdale and also caught Skarmory at Route 10 and added it to the team. We then head on to face the Electric Trial. I quickly gather all the Charjabug and do the Charjabug puzzle and then face the Totem Togedemaru. The Totem Togedemaru attacks us, and since it always goes for a Spiky Shield first turn, I decide to set up an Iron Defense. It then calls a Skarmory as its ally. I go for high horsepower while the Skarmory sets up its Stealth Rock, but I get flinched for the first time. I try to go for high horsepower again, but I get flinched by Togedemaru again as it puts me into Torment. I then try to go for a Bulldoze, but for the 3rd time in a row, I get flinched. It sets up its Spiky Shield again, and I take Spiky Shield damage. I can't use high horsepower in a row, so I decide to go for Bulldoze, and finally I don't get flinched and decide to finally attack the Togedemaru. Very little damage though. My Mudsdale is about to die, but I trust in not getting crit and go for the high horsepower, taking down the Togedemaru. I then switch into my Beware to take down the Skarmory with neutral damage. It does torment us, which means I have to switch between Brick Break and Brutal Swing to finally take down the Skarmory. Our Brionne then evolves into a Primarina after the battle, and we get given Electrium Z, signifying our Electric Trial win. We then head back to Hau'oli City where we are confronted by Guzma. He challenges us to a battle, but we absolutely smoked him and then he rushes off. We move on to Route 12 where we meet up with Hapu. She gives us the right pager option for Mudstill so we can traverse the rocky terrain. Our Route 12 encounter is at a lowland graveler which we add to the team. We then meet up with Hao and Galadion to make sure to protect Cosmog. We also protect Lily from a Team Skull member while going to the Ether House. We decide to do our Ghost Trial and take down the Ghastly Hunter and Gengar. We then take on the Totem Mimikyu. This thing has the disguise ability, so we bring out our Graveler to Thunder Punch and get rid of its disguise. We also decide that we need to sacrifice the Graveler so we can have a clean switch into our next Pokemon. We do some Thunder Punch damage to the Bayonet as we get taken out by a Plera from the Totem Mimikyu. We decide to bring out our Mudstill because it has super effective Heavy Slams. We go for a Heavy Slam and then do very good damage on the Mimikyu, and thanks to the stamina boost raising our defenses, we are able to stay in another turn and go for another Heavy Slam, bringing the Mimikyu to red health. We decide that we switch into our Skarmory because it is steel type and resists the Play-Roughs, and go for an Air Cutter because I don't really have a steel move on this thing yet. I go for an Air Cutter. We barely lift the Shadow Claw from the Bayonet, but we don't take out the Totem Mimikyu, which is pretty annoying, so we decide to switch into our starter Primarina. It goes for a Shadow Claw and also curses, so the Bayonet is down to red health. We take down the Mimikyu with a priority Aqua Jet, and now we have to survive the next move from Bayonet and the curse. We survive it on 10 HP and then go for an Aqua Jet again and taking down the Bayonet. With that, we defeat the Ghost Troll and get the Ghostinium Z. We have to fight Plumeria outside the Ether House. She sends in her Golbat while I send in my Alolan Grimer. I am able to do some damage before switching into my Beware and taking down the Golbat with a couple of Brutal Swings. Out comes her Salazzle and I decide to switch into my Primarina because my Beware's health is really low. Switch into my Primarina but almost get killed by a Sludge Bomb, so I'm again forced to switch into my Mudstill to tank a Sludge Bomb, tank another attack, and then take down the Salazzle with high horsepower. With that, we defeated Plumeria. After defeating Plumeria, we decide to head to Po Town to take down Team Skull. While heading there, after battling a couple of the trainers, our Alolan Grimer evolves into an Alolan Muck. At the Team Skull hideout, we challenge Guzma as he leads with his Golisopod, while I lead with my Alolan Muck. I go for a Gunk Shot while he goes for a First Impression, both of us doing heavy damage to each other. But since right now I'm faster, I'm able to go for a second Gunk Shot and force it to emergency exit out into Masquerain. I go for another Gunk Shot on the Masquerain, doing heavy damage while living on 10 health from its Bug Buzz. I then decide to switch into my Primarina to tank a Bug Buzz so that I can take it out easily with an Icy Wind. Icy Wind then proceeds to take down the Masquerain as expected as he switches back into his Golisopod. The Golisopod is heavily poisoned, so I just decide to switch into my Skarmory to tank the First Impression. Golisopod almost dies from poison but is able to hit us with another attack before going down. I then decide to keep into my Skarmory as the Pinsir comes out, switch into my Mudstill and take it down with a Heavy Slam. With that, Guzma is defeated and I get a free Bugginium Z. We find out casually that Lily has willingly gone ahead with Plumeria and Team Skull. Hao decides to disappoint himself, which is pretty sad. We battle Gladion, but now we have to battle Nanu for the Grand Trial. He leads with his Sableye while I lead with my Primarina. I go for Moonblast but he fakes me out first turn. I go for Moonblast again, taking down the Sableye. Out comes the Crocodile as I use my Sparkling Aria, taking it down in one hit, but before I do that I get hit in Confusion. But nevertheless, I take it out with my next Sparkling Aria. The next Pokemon to come out is the Alolan Persian. Decide to switch into my Beware for fighting type super effective damage. It goes for Fake Out before going for a Z move, Alicia's Black Hole Eclipse. I thought this would do a lot more damage than it did, but we were able to live it on half HP before taking down with 2 more Brick Break, getting our Grand Trial win at Ula Ula Island. we go to Ether Paradise with Gladion and we're gonna raid the place and defeat all the members so that we can save Cosmog. We beat branch leader Faba, and now we have to take down Guzma. Now Gladion lost to Guzma, so this is gonna be a difficult fight. He leads with his Galisapod, I lead with my Skarmory. Go for the spikes to get some residual damage, but that Razor Shell does a lot of damage. So I decide I'm gonna stay in and go for the Air Slash, and it does a lot of damage. Razor Shell misses, which is really good for us, so my second Air Slash forces it to emergency exit into Vikavolt. Vikavolt has the electric type move to counter my Skarmory. So I switch into my Mudsteel to absorb the Thunderbolt, and then go for an Iron Defense, raising my defense so that Heavy Slam does a lot more damage, but it Energy Balls me, so forced to switch back into my Alolan Muk. It goes for the Bug Buzz, I can take the hit, and then go for a Gunk Shot, which is a 2-hit KO on the Vikavolt. I decide to risk it and go for another Gunk Shot despite the accuracy, and I do manage to KO it. Up next is the Pinsir, and I'm like, damn, I can't do much, can I? So I switch into my Primarina because it's the Pokemon that I have with the most health and also can deal a lot of damage, but I'm really mindful because I can't let this thing evolve beyond or level up beyond level 49 because that is the next Totem Pokemon's level cap, so I can't let it go to level 50, which is pretty absurd. Go for the Icy Wind, which is a 2-hit KO on the Masquerade. The speed drop allows us to outspeed and take down the Masquerade. Galisapod comes out next, and I just realized I switch into my Beware, tank the attack, and go for a Brutal Swing, taking down the Galisapod, and with that we defeat Guzma. Now we enter the main building, I guess, and we take on Lusamine. Lusamine is a pretty easy fight. She has like a Clefable, which is easily taken down with my Skarmory, and we defeat her. We head to Pony Island next because we need to retrieve the Moon Flute. We also need to go and battle the Dragon-type Totem. We add Fletchling to our team because I decided I just need a sixth member. I just messed up the numbers a lot. I need a sixth member and decided to add it, evolve it into a Fletchinder, and then progress through the story as normal. We see how become the Kahuna of the island. You know, she gets the cool animation of her getting the Z-Ring from the Tapu of our island. I don't know which one it is. I think it's Tapu Fini, I think. Not sure. But we do get the Moon Flute from Executor Island, and then we see this light show. We do evolve our Fletchinder into a Talonflame. Really good addition, especially for the fighting dragon type that is Kamoa. Speaking of Kamoa, we're gonna be taking it out right now. Now, as you can see, Primarina is very good for this, but it goes for the Poison Jab and I almost died. But Moonblast is not a 2-hit KO, which is unfortunate. Decide to switch into my Talonflame to take a Poison Jab, and I am able to get the Flame Body off, which means physical attacks for Kamoa is greatly restricted. I go for the Acrobatic, doing a lot of damage, but Talonflame just goes down to the Scizor attacks. Decide to then switch into my Skarmory and then go for an Air Slash to take down the Kamoa first. Kamoa doesn't go down, but it does get taken down by the burn from Talonflame's Flame Body. With that, we defeat the Kamoa. We just switch into our Mudsteel, go for an Earthquake, and the second one is able to take it down. Somehow I'm faster than the Scizor, a Mudsteel faster than the Scizor. I haven't really seen that before. But we do manage to get the Dragon Trial Z Crystal. After we finish our Dragon Trial, we head to the Altar of the Moon where we are going to summon Lunala to do like stuff to like help get Lily back her mother and also save Guzma, I guess. We play the flute on top of the altar together with Lily, and we summon Lunala to the altar. This comes out of a wormhole, but so does her mom and so does Guzma. They're like, the thing is a monster, and it turns out it's Necrozma. Necrozma and Lunala fight, and it's a really cool animation of them going back and forth in the sky. It's actually really cool how they did this in the 3DS, this animation. But Necrozma fuses with Lunala to become Dusk Wings Necrozma, I believe it's called, or Dawn Wings Necrozma, whatever. And you see this really cool animation of all the Kahunas challenging the Ultra Beasts with their respective Tapu. We see Hala and also Olivia, we have Nanu, and we have, I forgot her name. I actually forgot her name. Wow. But anyways, we have to battle it. We send out our Primarina and go for an Icy Wind to lower its speed because I thought this thing must be super fast because, you know, it's a fused legendary Pokemon, it has to be super fast. So I click Icy Wind on this thing, I lower its speed, and then go for a Sparkling Aura. It does Psychic on me, which does less than half, but you know, that's still a lot of damage. It heals itself with Moonlight, which is really annoying. But I go for Sparkling Aria, dealing as much damage as I can before taking a Psychic and being forced to switch into my Alolan Muck. I absorb, not really absorb, but I take the Moonguy's Beam because I resist it. For some reason I went Gungshot because I forgot its typing, but nevertheless I remember this thing is a Ghost Psychic type, which means Crunch is 4 times super effective and it will take down the Necrozma. Necrozma then flees to Ultra Megalopolis, I believe. So we use the Lunala, also Galeo, to get to the place, go up these stairs, which is pretty nerve-wracking because imagine you're playing this game for the first time and you don't know what to expect. You're expecting Dawn Wings Necrozma again, just to see Necrozma in that like weird form where it's like suddenly boosted. I can remember watching this like other YouTubers play this for the first time and it was crazy how pissed off they were. Obviously I had a plan going into this fight because this fight is known to be one of the harder fights in the game. So basically my plan was to lead with my Alolan Muck and use Poison Gas on it. I could have used Toxic, but I forgot to pick up the TM. So I used Poison Gas on it, get it poisoned, and then switch into my Primarina to absorb the Dragon move on it. So because it's Fairy type and Fairy is immune to Dragon, switch back into Alolan Muck to tank the Photon Geyser because it's a Psychic type move and Alolan Muck is Hard Dark type. I thought it would go for another move because since Muck was at such a low health, it would go for a random move. So I decided to switch into my Skarmory. Realized that was kind of stupid. I was able to get lucky with this Power Gem though because Mudstill is able to resist it. And then riskily switch back into Alolan Muck, and it goes for Photon Geyser because I thought Mudstill has a lot of HP or defense, so it would go for his highest hitting move. So I guessed correctly. Go back into my Primarina to absorb the Dragon Pulse, switch back into my Alolan Muck to absorb the Photon Geyser, and riskily because you know Alolan Muck is at red health, I thought it might go for a random move, but it ended up going for Dragon Pulse, ended up poison stalling it, and we end up winning the fight. So this is one of the easier fights we've had to do. A lot of luck involved because you know you never know what move it's gonna choose when your Pokemon is that low. Maybe that's just a ROM pack AI thing, that's not really a Pokemon AI thing, but nevertheless it still worked out in my favor. We obviously get this cool animation of the world getting saved and such. And we realize we're done. We get Poipole as our Ultra Megalopolis encounter. But I learned that this thing can learn Dragon Pulse unless you go to the battle tree. So unluckily I wanted to add a Naganadel to the team, but you know what, we can't, which is pretty unfortunate. Now we do have to do Mina's trial now. Next up is Mina's Fairy Trial. Her trial consists of battling her and various other trial captains to get flower petals so I can make a flower and get Totem Ribombee to battle me. So in the battle with Mina, she leaves with her Mawile. I switch into my Mudstill and go for an Earthquake, taking it out. She switches into her Granbull while I switch into my Skarmory to get super effective Steel Wings off. I am able to get 2 Steel Wings off, but because of the attack drop from Play Rough, I can't finish it off, so I am forced to switch into my Alolan Muck. Primarina was an option there because Aqua Jet could KO it, but I decided to switch into my Alolan Muck. I tank a Stone Edge and then go for a Poison Fang, taking out the Granbull. Almost get taken out with an Earthquake myself, but I managed to live. And then the Ribombee comes out her own Ribombee. I switch into my Primarina because I'm scared that it's gonna go for its Z move, Fairy Z move, and it does. It goes for its Twinkle Tackle, and we do manage to live because I think it's neutral or we resisted, I'm not sure, but we live it. We go for the Sparkling Aria, taking it out. We get our first Pink Petal. We defeat the various trial captains. We also meet Sophocles, who doesn't want to battle us. He's just not really into battling, I guess. But either way, we make the flower with Mina, and we gonna fight Totem Ribombee comes to the door and that. Alright, so for the Totem Ribombee, I lead with my Alolan Muck so I can get a Gung Shot off. Now this thing is super powerful because it can set up Quiver Dance, so I need to take it down as fast as possible. It goes for Quiver Dance first turn, which is really scary. I go for Gunk Shot. It manages to live the attack, and as it calls for its partner Pokemon, switch into my Skarmory and go for a Fly. Luckily it goes for another Quiver Dance, so I am able to take down the Ribombee and the Chansey to get our next trial, Z Crystal. It's time to take on the last grand trial, before we take on the Elite Four. This is Island Kahuna Hapu. She leads with her Golurk. I lead with my Primarina. I go for a Sparkling Aria, taking down the Golurk in one hit. She sends down her signature Pokemon Mudstail, go for a Sparkling Aria again, and then take it out immediately. Out comes her Flygon. I go for a single Icy Wind Knot before taking damage to Earth Power and take down the Flygon with ease. Her last Pokemon is her Gastrodon. I go for a Moonblast, doing half damage, and he misses a move, or she misses a move. So another Moonblast is able to take her out, and we win the Island Kahuna trial battle thing. And we head to Mount Lanakila, where we meet Gladion descending from the peak. He tries to battle us, but you know how it is, we're the protagonist. It gets really tragic for him. So I thought I was being really clever, so I max repelled through the whole Victory Road, and I was like, I'm gonna get Necrozma as my encounter, you know, because it's a Ultra Beast, really powerful Pokemon, can help me ease through the Elite Four until I saw its level. It's level 65, which is 5 levels higher than the level cap, because the champion's highest level Pokemon is level 60, so I can't use that Necrozma, so that thing is immediately off my team, which is pretty tragic, not gonna lie. So I went and did a thing. Basically, I went and caught all my encounters that I purposely missed because I just didn't care about catching more Pokemon because I thought I had a good team. So I just kind of repelled my way through every area. But now I'm just gonna catch all the Pokemon, and amongst one of these Pokemon is the legendary Pokemon Lunala, and I was like, it's level 60, it's not above the level cap being level 60, because a champion How is highest Pokemon is level 60, but also I have a rule, I can't go above level 60 anywhere in the Elite Four. So if a Pokemon goes above level 60, then obviously it is off limits. So this Lunala has been used very, very scarcely in the Elite Four itself, and obviously it can go crazy in the champion fight if I can bring it there, of course. Maybe I use it as sacrifice, not sure yet. But let's move on. There's this cute little cutscene with Primarina. For some reason, not for some reason, Kukuyo acknowledges you have Lunala in your party. We battle Molayne first. He leads with a Klefki. I go for Brick Break because this thing will set up Reflect, which is really annoying. So I go for a couple of Brick Breaks. I don't really care about the Thunder Waves or Spikes that this thing can do. I just spam Brick Break until I can take down the Klefki. Most importantly, that Reflect should not be up. Next Pokemon is the Metagross because it thinks it can come and take me out in Zen Headbutt, but I switch into my Alolan Muck. To absorb the hit with a Dark type move, I go for another Crunch and take it out. Next Pokemon is Alolan Dugtrio. It will go for a Ground type move, so I switch into my Skarmory for the immunity. And then set up my Spikes and use up all of its Sucker Punch PP by just spamming Spikes. This is also important because I need to break Magnezone sturdy. I then spam Night Slash as neutral damage, and this is also necessary because critical hits is like cool and all, but I need Skarmory to stay in basically. I then switch into my Mudstail. Sturdy is now broken. I can take an attack and then go for an Earthquake, taking down the Magnezone. His last Pokemon is a Bisharp. I can switch into my Primarina. I can always live one hit and I'll always be faster than this Bisharp. Therefore, the Bisharp goes down to a Sparkling Aria. Next battle is against Olivia. She leads with her Armaldo, I lead with my Primarina. I go for a single Sparkling Aria and take it down in one hit. Her next Pokemon is a Cradily. I switch into my Beware while it goes for Rock Tomb, not doing a lot of damage. I go for Brick Break while it goes for Energy Ball. Another Brick Break will take it down, but it does set up Stealth Rock. It then switches into its Midnight Lycanroc. I go for Baby Doll Eyes. I know this thing has counter, so I can't really attack it. I ideally wanted Primarina to be against this thing, so it can use counter, but I decided to just use my Baby Doll Eyes and then switch into my Primarina. This thing goes for Z-move, but this thing is minus 3 attack thanks to Baby Doll Eyes, so that Lycanroc can do a lot of damage to us. We take it out. Next Pokemon is a Gigalith. I switch into my Mudsdale and then go for an Earthquake, doing a lot of damage. It's a 2-hit KO. We're able to live a couple of attacks. My second Earthquake is able to take down the Gigalith. Last Pokemon is Probopass. It goes for attack. I'm able to live it. Go for an Earthquake. It lives on 30th. I can predict she uses the full restore. Go for another Earthquake again. She has another full restore in the back, I believe. So I ponder whether I should switch, but I eventually end up going for another Earthquake because this thing does have another, or this thing, the Olivia does have another full restore at the back. So best option is to go for another Earthquake to get it back to 1 HP. I'm not confident in my speed stat, so again I ponder. I think this Probopass is faster than me, so I switch into my Skarmory, absorb the attack, go for Steel Wing, take it out. Next battle is against Kahili. This battle gets a little bit tragic. I lead with Lunala because I need something hard hitting to take down Braviary. This thing predicts. I initially thought I could predict it switching into Braviary because I'm going for the second time move, but it does it the second time. I bring in Primarina and then bring back Lunala for the same position, and then it does the thing I expected it to do, which is switch into Mandibuzz to absorb the second time attack. So right now Lunala has the hard switch out. Switch into my Alolan Muck and then go for a Poison Jab on the thing. Poison Jab is able to do a lot of HP. Brave Bird does not take us out, and a Gunk Shot will take down the Mandibuzz. Next Pokemon is Braviary once again. Switch into Lunala. It can't switch into the Braviary this time, so I'm able to go for a Psychic, taking down the Braviary. Again, I have to be very wary of the experience gain because this thing cannot go over level 60. The Hawlucha Brutal Swings and knocks us out, so I don't have to worry about that anyway. I kinda might have forgot this thing at Brutal Swing, but whatever. We're able to take this thing down with a couple of air slash, no, not air slashes, but flies. Taking away Hawlucha, I'll mix it to Cannon. This is really funny because Fly is able to avoid the Beat Blast while it is setting up. And the Z move also misses because I'm up in the air, which is really dumb from the AI, not gonna lie. Next Pokemon is Oricorio. I am really worried because this thing could sweep my team because Primarina is at a low health. Primarina is able to live on in HP, and we do take down Kahili, but we lose 2 Pokemon in Lunala and Skarmory. We ace towards Acerola. Acerola, probably the easiest fight of the bunch. Switch into my Primarina. For the rest of the Elite Four, I used most of my team, but for Acerola, 4 Pokemon was all I needed. I go for a Sparkling Aria, taking down the Palisand. She switches into a Delmise. I switch back into my Alolan Muck. I thought this thing was a Grass type, which I think it is, but it might be Resist. There might be a Resist going on there, I don't know. But I Poison Jab and take it down with a Crunch. Next Pokemon is Frost Slash. I know this thing is super slow, so even though I hit myself in confusion, it hits maybe with Blizzard and then I hit it with Crunch. Sorry, that was my bad, that was going too fast, but anyway. Drifblim comes out. I switch into my Beware to take the Ghost type attack, and this thing literally cannot hit me. Its only attacking move is Ominous Wind, and since Beware is part normal type, it literally cannot hit me. So after a couple of Brutal Swings, I'm not necessarily worried about Aftermath either because Beware is at full health. We take down Acerola, and with that we have defeated the Elite Four. It is finally time for me to complete the Pokemon Ultra Moon Hardcore Nuzlocke. This is the peak of all the challenge that we have faced throughout this challenge, and even if I lose, I'm not doing this battle or this playthrough again. So this is really it, man. We lead with Alolan Muck and he leads with Alolan Raichu. A single Crunch is able to take it down. Out comes the Taurus. It intimidates us, which is really annoying because our attacks is down. I decide to switch into my Beware for super effective Brick Break, but I do take some damage to Earthquake. It also goes for a double edge, doing a lot of damage to it, but it also takes recoil damage, and a Brick Break is able to take down the Taurus. Out comes Noivern, and I decide that it is time for Beware to do good and sacrifice itself, and we switch into our Primarina, go for the Icy Wind. I get flinched, but it also misses an Air Slash, so I'm able to hit it, taking down the Norwin. Out comes Leafeon. I'm not staying into this thing because I have an Incineroar to deal with later on. I go for a Gunk Shot, doing massive damage, but I think this thing is gonna definitely full restore, seemingly, as it is poisoned and in red health. So I go for Gunk Shot again, but I need to be wary of Gunk Shot PP because I only have 3 left. Go for a Gunk Shot, hit it, and then a Poison Jab is able to take the Leafeon down. Next Pokemon is the Incineroar. I decide I need to switch into my Mudsdale to get the Flare Blitz tank. I am going to need to sacrifice my Mudsdale, and for some reason it uses the Z move against me, even though it literally saw Flare Blitz do more than half, which is pretty weird. But I go for the Sparkling area. I am faster and take down the Incineroar in one hit. Next Pokemon, or last Pokemon, is a Crabominable. I go for the Moon Blast, and I am able to take it down, becoming the winner of this challenge after so long, after so many difficult battles. We have finally done it. We have Performer, we have Spine Buster, Bowing helped out, Nebby, which kind of just stuck around for the Elite Four fight. I also missed out on Sludger there. But there we go. We have completed the Pokemon Ultra Moon Hardcore Nuzlocke. Super excited because these games, Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, are known to be the hardest Pokemon official main series game to Hardcore Nuzlocke, and I am amongst them that can say that I completed a Hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Ultra Moon, which is very cool to say, not gonna lie. I completed a lot of Pokemon Hardcore Nuzlockes, and this is definitely my best one because damn, I feel relieved. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Follow my Twitter as well. Link in the description is the best way to find out about my videos. And yeah, see ya. Bye.